Back to that breaking news in downtown Jacksonville. Sheriff T.K. Waters announcing an arrest in a 40-year-old cold case. And he is going to be, he is right now holding a press conference about it. Let's listen.
So good afternoon. Today I'm joined by cold case detectives and our partners at First Coast Crime Stoppers, the State Attorney's Office, and Project Cold Case to announce the arrest of 70-year-old Gary Edward Gloaz for the December 1987 murder of Melisa Taylor Ellison, who at the time of her tragic death was a 20-year-old mother. Melisa Ellison's murder occurred during a home burglary 39 years ago. This case was investigated, continuously reinvestigated, and ultimately solved by dedicated detectives assigned to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit. JSO's Cold Case Unit is staffed by experienced homicide detectives who have spent their career committed to seeking justice for victims and their loved ones. In the very early morning hours of December 28, 1987, Melisa Ellison was found deceased in her home at 3611 Cole John Road. It was determined that she died due to blunt force head trauma. Because this case is now an active murder prosecution being handled by our partners at the State Attorney's Office, I cannot share additional factual details nor how Gloaz was identified as a perpetrator of this heinous act of violence. Gloaz's arrest stands as a shining symbol of our agency's commitment to methodically working our law enforcement partners to seek justice for victims, no matter how long achieving that justice takes. I spent over 10 years of my 35 years at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in the Homicide Unit. And so I personally know both how heart-wrenching these cases are and how difficult they can be to solve. Television shows condition us to believe that homicide cases that are not solved within the first 48 hours will not be solved. That is patently false. Homicide investigations are very complex. Forensics can take a long time to complete, and technology surrounding these investigations continue to advance and evolve. Likewise, the investigative work needed in these cases must be completed carefully and comprehensively. These investigations can take months. They can take years. They require both unwavering heart and acute attention to detail. I can tell you from personal experience that homicide detectives do not forget their investigations. We drive around the city and we can tell you exactly where particular homicides have taken place and the facts and circumstances surrounding those cases. These cases shatter the loved ones left behind, and they also weigh heavily on those of us charged with bringing these murders to justice. Many of us carry on our hearts the weight of unsolved homicides. And today, Gloaz's arrest is a victory for not only the friends and family members who love Melisa Ellison, but the investigators who never stopped believing that justice could and would be served. While his arrest cannot fill the enormous void left in the hearts of Melisa Ellison's loved ones, I hope that this arrest is another step in the healing process. With accountability, we can define this heinous act for what it is: murder and burglary with a battery. Additionally, this arrest shows this agency's unwavering commitment to stay the course and bring justice to victims and victims' families. There's no statute of limitations for murder, and the dedicated men and women of the JSO's Cold Case Unit also know no temporal limitations. They will always keep digging. They will always keep reinvestigating, and they will consider new and innovative technologies and investigative practices so that loved ones of those taken from our community can get the answers and accountability that they justly deserved. I'm honored that today, almost 40 years since she was brutally murdered, this agency can be a voice for Melisa Ellison and those of her loved ones. Today, we acknowledge who committed this atrocity, and coupled with the prospect of accountability, horror is actively being reshaped into hope. I want to thank all the men and women detectives, advocates, and prosecutors for all the hard work over many years that culminated in Gloaz's arrest. Now I'll take any questions that you may have, provided that answering these questions and then will not hamper the integrity of our investigation moving forward. Yes, ma'am.
I know First Coast Crime Stoppers had a press conference about this case earlier this year. Did you all receive any information as a result of that press conference that helped solve this case?
I'm going to let the cold case supervisor, I know the answer, I'm going to let him answer because I don't want to cross a line where I give out information that we should not give out. Ray?
Thank you. I will tell you that there's some information that did come forward that played a pivotal role in this. We're very excited about the partnership that we have with so many agencies and folks here in town and out of town, and First Coast Crime Stoppers is one of that. And so we're thankful for what they did, and because of that, we did gather some information.
Does this guy when you arrested this guy, was he already in custody? Does he have a history of this kind of activity?
He has a history of burglary. This one was very violent, of course, and we'll leave the discussions on how he was brought into custody for our state attorney's office. I think it's important to keep all that stuff very close to us. There's a prosecution that has to take place. This is a big part of it, but the prosecutorial part is the biggest thing we're looking toward next.
Was he living here in Jacksonville?
Was he here?
Clay County.
He was living in Clay. Any other questions? All right, thanks for your time this afternoon.
Okay, so an arrest in a cold case in Jacksonville, but it sounds like the person who has been arrested, Gary Edward Galates, in his 70s, was living in Clay County, and this is for the murder of Melisa Ellison. And she was 20 years old. She was a mother at the time, and according to the sheriff there, somebody broke into her house, and that would be, according to him, Gary Edward Galates, broke into the house and then killed her. And this was 39 years ago in 1987. And Allison, the young lady there, was found dead in her home with blunt force trauma as a cause of death. It was interesting that the sheriff called this a heinous act, but also then said this is horror being reshaped into hope, putting this cold case investigation in those words, and then not saying a whole lot more regarding details of this particular case. And that's because he said this case still needs to be prosecuted. It is in the hands of the state attorney's office, and because he does not want to jeopardize the judicial process of this case and the case itself from going forward, he is going to remain a little bit mum about the rest of the details for this case. But interestingly enough, Crime Stoppers was involved here. We always tell you you can call Crime Stoppers and leave anonymous information. Well, it seems like that worked for helping resolve this particular cold case mystery. And somebody did indeed call in with some information to Crime Stoppers, which helped investigators, they say, break this and solve this crime. So again, Gary Edward Galates in his 70s has been arrested, and this is for the tragic death of Melisa Ellison, a 20-year-old mother of Jacksonville from 1987. We will continue to gather more information, but that was the press conference we just heard here. Let's go on.